Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guest today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back to some more bite-sized business advice. And we have an episode today where maybe we're going to get outside of business a little bit. We're going to talk about some life advice, which is important because your life is not all about your business, and your business should not encompass all of your life. That's what we always talk about on this show. So we're going to talk about some ways to get out of your own way, overcome obstacles, and see what else life has to offer. I have an amazing guest who has quite the story that I'm excited to learn about with you listening to this episode. So we have Dani Rosenblad. James, Dani, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to dive into your backstory. I don't know it. All I know is that you had an injury, we'll say, a number of years ago. So let's unpack this. Where does your journey begin?
Okay, so we'll just do the traumatic brain injury part. So this was about 9 years ago when I lived, because I'm American, when I lived in the US. I was on my way to California from South Dakota, and it was black ice in Wyoming, and visibility was less than a mile. And all I remember is going, oh crap. It was just me and my dog in my tiny truck. And I guess I blacked out and I must have tried to veer to the right, but black ice, you can't really stop. So I ended up hitting a pile of cars that were all blocked by a semi truck. And what ended up happening is my truck turned into a convertible because the whole top was taken off like a sardine can. So I have like a scar here from getting ripped up that as well. And I had to be helicoptered to Salt Lake City, Utah to get the help that I needed. And they intubated me, put me in a coma. Oh, yeah. So it took a few days before I came to, and I was able to do things again. And I kind of got out of that foggy feeling for a bit there. However, it took 2 years before I felt like me again. But since this all happened, I pretty much had my ego out of the way. So it was easier for me to focus on, wait a minute, this is but a moment. This is not my reality. This is not how I will be in my future. And so that's what helped me heal myself. And now it's been probably soon going to be on 10 years since my accident. And I have accomplished so much in my life. And I'm so happy and thankful that I learned how to listen to my body after at least the first 2 years. I listened to it a lot more.
That's an incredible story that most people probably can't relate to, but I'm sure what you're going to tell us that came out of that is really, really powerful for how we should live our lives and kind of overcome obstacles, which I'm excited to dive into. But I'm also curious. I mean, you don't hear about traumatic brain injury with a coma every single day. Are there like lasting effects from this, or do you have permanent damage in any regard?
Um, so my memory is not the greatest. However, I have learned from one of my teachers that no one has a bad memory. It's just that we need to practice, we need to train with it. It's just like a muscle. You just need to practice and train it. This same this same coach of mine has told me that we can heal from anything and we get to choose our own lives. So it's Bob Proctor. He has really made a huge difference within my life. And I've only now it's been this year that I've been studying him and learning all about the mindset even more. And so I'm having more connections with how I was able to heal myself. It's just crazy. It makes me feel like I'm a little crazy myself because of all this stuff, but it's connecting and aligning. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and it's incredibly powerful too to take that
Mm,
mindset into life for anybody, not just someone who has had an injury. I think
mhm.
that's great for anybody listening. So, The other thing you said, I just want to touch on that's so important. I see it all the time with our clients and just people in general is the ego and the pride
Mm,
that comes naturally with life that we have to combat every single day. That to me is what keeps you stuck more than anything else. Is holding on to some image of what you think it's supposed to be or how you think you're supposed to be perceived. So really powerful that you came to that so soon and you're in the recovery process. I'm kind of excited to see where you've gone from there. So you've been working at this for the past 10 years and
mhm.
you've learned some lessons about overcoming obstacles, achieving success. Your mindset has grown. Tell me about some of the things you've learned over the past 10 years and how we can take that into growing our businesses too.
Yeah. So, at the moment, I'm writing a book that is loosely based on my traumatic brain injury. And as I'm writing it, I'm learning more and more about some of the techniques I have taken while I was healing that it didn't even click. And then when I wrote it, I was like, oh, yeah, that's why that happened, or that's why I felt this way. So I realized that what I was doing while I was healing is I was going within myself and I was calling it like my dark safety area where it's just complete darkness and it just like I could let go of all my feelings and just be. And that was so freeing doing that. And it's like on the outside, people would see me and they just see me dazing off and think, oh, she's so messed up. But it's like I was literally healing myself at this time and it didn't matter to me, when you're, for me, as I was healing and everything, I didn't have that social cue as much. So it's like, oh, maybe you shouldn't do these certain things in front of people because it's really seen as weird. But I didn't have that connection anymore in my mind at that time. So I would just do as I felt fit at that time, which at on the outside maybe looks like I wasn't all with it.
It almost sounds like being in a childlike state. Is that how you describe it?
Yeah, so I've had another mentor over this course, and she explained to me that I probably talked to myself as if I was a child. And I said, "Yeah, you're right." Because I would, every day be like, "How are you feeling? What are you doing? Do you feel like what can you do today?" And oh, it's okay to rest, like comforting myself to let me know it's okay. Like this is how you heal, this is how you get better. You have to be patient and take time, and you can't be hard on yourself. And that was a very, very hard lesson for me. I think throughout the whole time because I'm stubborn. And I see stubbornness as a good thing, but it can be a bad thing as well because it's where I didn't want to let go of, oh, I used to be able to do 12 hours of work a day. Now I only can do an hour, and then my body will be in full pain all day. So it's like having to accept that was really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, the accepting the new reality, however temporary it is always a
Mm,
shock um,
mm,
to a human being, and that's totally fine. Obviously, you've gotten past that point, but accepting where you are as a stepping stone to where you're going is
mhm,
really powerful. Either learning a new skill, recovering from an injury, uh, a new diagnosis, whatever it may be. I think that temporary mindset that you had that you mentioned a few minutes ago was probably really impactful for you moving forward. So, I,
mhm,
I mean, I love this episode because hopefully people listening to it are just business owners and entrepreneurs, and we don't have to have a traumatic brain injury to kind of force us to have a new outlook on life, and we can learn and live vicariously through you. But what are some of those things that we can do that also you've learned in your journey that can help us overcome, the obstacles that we probably put in our own way most of the time? But what are some of the practices that you've done that we can take into our lives without having an injury so that we can really propel our success forward?
Yeah, that's definitely meditation. I mean, I didn't even realize that that's what I was doing at the beginning, but now that I'm working on getting back into meditation, I'm like, that is what I was doing. Because when you're meditating, that's where you take all of your focus out of the now and go within yourself. And then you actually listen to your body and connect your mind to your body more and more the more you do it. And then you also heal some of the past trauma or anything. Like there are so many people in the world that have all kinds of trauma mentally or physically just because of growing up or experiences in life or anything. So it's really good to look within us, and that's for everybody.
Mm. Yeah. Are there some ways that I mean, I think we've all heard of meditation in terms of
Mm,
like part of your morning practice or whatever. You do it
mm.
at night before you go to bed. How do you incorporate it? We're busy. We get caught up in the daily life of things, our work, running our businesses. Do you incorporate it into, throughout the day, just connecting with yourself and kind of recentering before you go into a new task?
So I have a daily routine that I do every day, and it's like I've made a list of 6 things every day, and the most important thing goes on the top of the list. And I can't go to the next one until I have finished the first one, and so on and so forth. So the first one I usually have is self-care. So that means meditation, maybe doing some kind of exercise, doing something for myself for the day. And like when it comes to meditation, I think I have read that the minimum that you can do a day is 3 minutes, and you're getting some kind of benefit from doing it. So there are so many business people out there that are like, oh, that takes too much time. But you can do it within like 3 minutes. And then I think the max was 13 minutes or so. So it's like just being in that time frame is good. You'll get some kind of benefit from it. I mean, if you do more than 13 minutes, that's great. That means you're getting more benefits from doing it. But I mean, that's a huge reason that I was kind of like, oh, for a while there, oh, I can't do that. It just takes too much time. And then it's so hard to turn off your brain. But that means you need to try to do it more and more so you get used to doing it. That's the huge issue we have as humans is, well, many of us at least, that it's hard to turn off our brains and focus on us.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I'm curious, what are the other 5 things on this list that you do every day?
Let's see. Okay, so they switch up sometimes, but the ones that are every day would be the self-care, self-study, so taking in something, learning something, and then it goes to writing an article, working on my book, doing a podcast, and the sixth one, it usually is about doing something creative or something. So it's like being creative, writing creative thoughts down. Um, so another coach that I've had, she explained to me that you should do an hour of like your holy hour. And so she would do 20 minutes of creativity, 20 minutes of motion, and 20 minutes of self-care, and that's what she does every day. And so just mine is a bit different because I have a 3-year-old and my time is all over the place. So I can't really do it in the morning. It's usually best at nighttime, but I get it to work.
Whatever works, right? I think that's the whole point is make it work for you and not just adopt somebody else's routine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really powerful. That's cool. So then looking ahead, you're writing a book, you have a book
Mhm.
coming out. I'm curious, what's your plan around releasing that and then growing that and spreading your message?
Yeah. So since I have been looking and studying more about the mindset, I've had so many random connections happening. And I actually found this publishing company. And so I actually have a publishing company already for the book, and they've been helping me with editing, and they're going to help me with distributing it and doing all of that as well. And I plan on advertising all over my social media platforms and my website and getting it out that way, and probably my email list as well.
That's awesome. And speaking of your email list, I think we have your website here that I'll toss on the
Mhm.
screen. Um, you have your email list. What do you talk about in your emails and your blogs that you post?
Oh, let's see. So my blog posts are usually about traveling and the experiences that I've had, but I also give outdoor adventure tips about flying, about traveling, all the different things, aspects, or like these must places that you have to go to. So it's like my base was mostly writing about Sweden, hikes, and outdoor adventures there, but I've been branching out to other countries. So when I've been traveling, I usually try to make some kind of itinerary or do specific articles on specific things we did there or certain places we visited.
That's really cool. And I'm curious too, because traveling could be mentally taxing for people. It's a lot. It's a process. You're outside of your normal environment. Have you seen that help you in your recovery?
Yes, definitely. But even before my accident, I always would go out of out of my comfort zone. That was kind of the thing that I always liked to do because I mean, I was a weed farmer, so that's out of the norm. I used to be a hitchhiker for a year. So yeah, I'm definitely a little bit of a different kind of person.
Yeah, I like that. I think, but that's what this is all about, right? Getting outside of your comfort zone, getting unstuck, getting out of
Mhm,
your own way in terms of your mindset or how you do things. I feel like that's really what we're talking about today. I mean, yes, you learned from a very specific experience that most of us, thankfully, don't have, but that's what this is all about: is
mhm.
getting out of the way of yourself. And how do we do that effectively? How can we learn from other people who have been there, done that, and had to do the hardest task, which is overcoming an injury at the same time? So I appreciate you coming and sharing your story. It's inspirational, and it's also it's inspiring in the way of like it's so easy. We can do this without having to overcome so many other things. So thank you for giving us that kind of inspiration.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. For those of you watching, listening, wherever you are, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sticking around. Go check out Dani's website, misfitwanders.com. Check out her email list and get those travel tips. If you like traveling, I know I do. I'd love to have all the travel tips I can about flying and where to go. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch.